Daredevil has always been seen as something different inside the MCU, something raw, real, and painfully human. So when Marvel announced Born Again, I was excited, but I was scared too. Scared they tone it down, soften it, make it feel too Disney. And they kind of did, but not in the way I expected. So what exactly changed and why does it matter? Well, I have identified 3 key things that explain everything. The city is definitely one of the Netflix Daredevil's most underrated parts. It wasn't just where the story happened, rather felt like its own character. And in that city, Matt Murdock didn't come across as a superhero. He felt like a guy barely holding on, injured, sleep-deprived, and constantly one bad night away from breaking. Every alley whispered danger, every shadow had weight. You could feel the cold rain. That's what made it different. That's what made it real.
Come on, Maddie. Get to work.
Comparing it to Born Again, I think there is a clear difference in the grittiness of its visuals. Even with murderers, blood-soaked graffiti, and mafia bosses, it still feels clean, like danger is being presented to us rather than surrounding us. This is tragically an issue we're seeing in a lot of modern productions, and something other creators have touched on as well. Everything looks too good, too staged, and when things seem to be perfect, they don't feel as authentic. And this presents a problem of relatability with a character like Daredevil, and I'll come back to this in point 2 and 3, because it runs deeper than just the aesthetics, especially in a world where he's one of the few superheroes who even comes close to feeling grounded. Well, obviously not completely. I mean, the guy can take a beating better than a punching bag.
3 broken ribs, probable concussion, some kind of puncture wound, and that's just the stuff that I know about.
So why do you guys think the contrast is so big between how the city feels and looks? I don't claim to have all the answers, but it doesn't take a genius to point out how modern productions lean hard into green screens, CGI-enhanced lighting, and digital cleanup. You can almost touch the artificial edge sometimes, and as a viewer it obviously takes you out of the moment. But if you clicked on this video, that's something you already know. So what actually makes the city in Born Again feel different? I think it's the way the camera doesn't move, and the angles they don't show you. All of this is something the Netflix show went the extra mile to capture, to create shots like this, moments like this, or feelings like this, that together formed a world that felt alive, tangible, and broken. Sometimes it was the smallest thing, like the sound of keys hitting the ground in the heavy rain, or our characters stepping onto an old wooden plank after a legendary one-take fight scene. It's all part of the storytelling, and that's exactly what feels missing in this new season. You see the city, but you don't feel it.
This city will protect us! This city's beautiful.
Like I showed you, the Netflix version didn't try to hide the mess. It showed the dark corners, rough streets, and real pain. You could hear the city breathing. In turn, that made every fight more intense and every decision more serious. And it's perfect when you're telling a story about a man constantly dragged into the dirt. Like Gotham in the Batman or the latest Penguin series, the old Hell's Kitchen shaped people by desperation and violence, and in turn also shaped those who dared to fight back, for good and for worse.
You really think that anyone would believe that I didn't know what you were doing? That Karen didn't know?
This city needs me in that mask.
The internal struggle of Matt Murdock is the core of the story, and just like the city formed him, the characters are just as involved in this. But somehow, even though most of the old cast is back this season, well, except for these 2, it feels like the soul of them has been left behind. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a cliche, but hear me out. I will probably never get over how well they managed to write these characters, like Matt almost symbolically becoming Fisk in their final confrontation, and simultaneously how Fisk in the same moment is on the verge of taking the place of his father.
Come on! Kill me! No! God knows I want you.
but you don't get to destroy who I am.
And then there is the emotional core, those raw human connections that gave the story a real heart.
Nelson and Murdoch, attorneys at law.
Nelson and Murdoch.
If we just ignore the quite big fact that the beloved fan favorites like Foggy and Karen aren't part of the story anymore, something still feels off. Characters we used to know, Fisk especially, just doesn't hit the same anymore. And honestly, that's not entirely the series' fault. It's because he's been used in other shows, thrown into situations that don't match the tone or depth we got in the Netflix show. And in the process, they kind of watered him down. He barely even feels like a villain. More like a man who is trying to be someone he's not, going against everything he once stood for. And even if that's intentional, that they're actually trying to show a more conflicted Fisk, it doesn't quite work, and here is why.
You and I have a lot in common. We're nothing alike. That's what you'll tell yourself.
Fisk was the challenge, the perfect mirror to Matt, equal in strength, in conviction, in pain. When Fisk doesn't hit as hard, Matt doesn't either, and the famous quote, "a hero is only as good as its villain," suddenly explains a lot. Because without the powerful opposition, the entire story feels less grounded, less urgent, like the emotional stakes have been lowered without us even realizing it. What do you guys think? Is the change in Fisk as noticeable to you, or am I just too attached to the original? But let's go back to Matt, and one specific scene in Born Again that stands out, which leads us into the third point.
Want to go out there on the street, have at it. But I do not have time for your candy-ass hero shit.
The more I watched the new season, the more the urge of wanting to go back to the original grew stronger. And when Frank appeared in episode 4, that feeling was at its peak. Why? Because the scene was so damn good.
That's why he's eating at you, because you know you didn't do a goddamn thing, and it's gonna keep eating at you. It's gonna keep eating and eating and eating. There's no getting away with it, you understand?
It's ironic that the awesome, beautiful, and simultaneously tragic moment actually made things worse. From your perspective, you might wonder how I can even utter those words. But for just a few minutes, I remembered how incredible this show used to be, with phenomenal actors and a layer of emotion that almost no other superhero show or movie for that matter has come close to. Sure, season 3 might have left a few questions hanging, but it gave us real closure. Matt finally came to terms with himself, the gang was back together, and the main villain was behind bars. That ending could in reality be fine without a sequel, and let's be real, it's probably never going to be beaten. So instead of thinking of this scene as part of the new story, it instead made me ask this question. Why even try to outdo something that's already close to perfection? Well, there is the obvious answer.
Ah, screw it.
If it's true that episode 8 and 9 is completely new footage and a reworked ending, I might actually have some hope for season 2, because there was definitely a noticeable difference. Just look at the beauty of that opening shot in episode 8. And no, I'm not saying that the new show has ruined any characters. Honestly, it's been pretty decent overall, a lot better than most of what Marvel puts out these days, but that's exactly my point. Are we only going to strive for something good enough? Because to me, this show hasn't made me fall in love with Daredevil all over again. It's different. It's instead just made me appreciate the original even more. And deep down, I think Kevin Feige and the whole team already know that's what would happen. But if you think Daredevil lost its edge, wait until you see what Disney's done to Star Wars. I break it all down in under 10 minutes, and trust me, it's worth a watch. Leave a comment if you stayed until the end, but most importantly, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a fantastic day.